I never thought a t-shirt would cause this much drama in my life, but here we are. I'm 57 years old, been a long-haul truck driver for decades, and I've seen some stuff. But nothing quite prepared me for what happened when my daughter's boyfriend showed up for dinner on December 23rd. My daughter is 19, and she'd been dating this kid for a while. Nice enough guy from what I'd seen. He was coming over for dinner before heading out with his family for Christmas, so this was our little celebration together. The doorbell rang, and I answered it like I always do. He came in, all smiles, took off his jacket, and that's when I saw it. The shirt. It said, and I'm not making this up, "It's not going to suck itself." I just stood there for a second, blinking. This kid wore this to dinner with his girlfriend's parents, to my house, where my wife was in the kitchen cooking a nice meal for him. I didn't yell, I didn't lecture, I just looked at him and asked if he had any money on him. He seemed confused and said, "No, why?" I pulled two 20s out of my wallet and told him straight up that the shirt showed a marked lack of respect for both my daughter and my wife. I walked him back out the door, pointed him toward the Walmart 3 miles down the road, and told him to buy a more respectful shirt and come back wearing it. The whole thing happened between just him and me. No audience, no public shaming, just a quiet conversation at the door. He left. I went back inside. My wife asked where he went, and I just said he needed to grab something real quick. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang again, and there he was in a nice polo shirt. We had a perfectly pleasant dinner. Nobody mentioned the incident. We talked, laughed, ate good food. It was fine. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. But the next day, my daughter came to my wife and me, clearly upset. Turns out the boyfriend had told her what happened, and she felt I'd humiliated him. She wasn't screaming or threatening to break up with him or anything dramatic like that, but she was bothered. Even my wife said I could have handled it differently, so now I'm sitting there wondering if I was too harsh. Did I overreact? Should I have just let it slide? I started second-guessing myself. I'm a truck driver, not a therapist. I deal with things head-on, keep it simple, move forward. But maybe this needed a softer touch. I posted about it online just to see what people thought, and the responses came flooding in. Some people thought I did exactly the right thing. Others said I was too strict. It was all over the place. But then I did something I should have done from the start. I sat my daughter down the next morning and asked her exactly what her boyfriend had told her, and that's when things got interesting. Turns out, he hadn't actually told her what the shirt said. He told her accurately what I said to him and what I asked him to do, but he left out the actual phrase on the shirt. The word humiliated was her interpretation, not his. She was defending him because she'd seen her mom and me defend each other over the years. She'd noticed how we handled disagreements in private and present a united front in public. She was applying that same loyalty to her relationship, which honestly made me proud, even if it was a little misguided in this situation. Quick reminder, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss stories like this. Once she understood what the shirt actually said, her whole demeanor changed. She went quiet for a minute, processing it. Then she said she needed to talk to him when he got back the next day to follow up on why he thought that shirt was appropriate for a family dinner. She said she'd handle it, and I trusted her to do that. The next evening, she called him. I wasn't in the room, but she told us about it afterward. She asked him straight up why he hadn't told her what the shirt said when they talked. His answer was telling. He said because it was embarrassing. Then she asked why he wore it in the first place. And this is where it got even more interesting. He admitted that the shirt had been a gift from his older brother, who's 21. The older brother had dared him to wear it, called him chicken when he objected, the whole dumb sibling routine. So this kid wore a completely inappropriate shirt to impress his older brother. Not to impress my daughter, not because he thought it was funny, but because he didn't want his brother to think he was scared. My daughter didn't let him off easy. She told him that none of what he did was cool. She said she really liked him and that he'd always been kind to her, but this crossed a line. She wasn't breaking up with him, but she laid out some conditions. First, he needed to explain the entire situation to his parents. Second, he needed to show up in person at our home, bring the money for the shirt, and as she put it, put in a whole ass-kissing session that included the explanation of the dare. She said if he handled it well, they could talk about moving forward. After the call, she came and talked to her mom and me. She said something that really stuck with me. She said she forgot her worth. She pointed out that as long as she'd been alive, I'd never gone out of my way to embarrass her mom, that I'd always been respectful and never let anyone be disrespectful to her, so she wasn't going to settle for less in her own relationship. Man, that made me feel good. All those years of trying to set a good example, and she actually noticed. The next afternoon we were expecting the boyfriend to show up. But what happened that evening, none of us saw coming. I got a phone call from his parents. I answered, expecting maybe some awkwardness or tension, but instead they were mortified and extremely apologetic. But here's the best part. They told me they were on Reddit. They'd actually commented on my post, supporting the way I handled this situation. They said they loved my daughter, that we'd raised her right, and that they had not raised their son to show this level of disrespect to anyone, let alone his girlfriend. Apparently, when their son went to talk to them as part of my daughter's conditions, his mom was scrolling through Reddit. As he started explaining what happened, she reached for her phone, opened Reddit, and yelled, "Is this about the shirt that said what?" And according to his dad, as their son read the first half paragraph of my post, he died a little inside. They recognized the whole story immediately. They were coming to dinner the next evening with their son, the whole family. To make it right, that dinner was something else. The boyfriend showed up with his parents, handed me the $40, and apologized. Not a half-hearted sorry, but a real one. His parents backed him up, but they also made it clear they weren't excusing his behavior. His older brother apparently got a pretty serious talking to as well. We all sat down, had a great meal, and honestly, it turned into one of the better evenings we'd had in a while. I've been thinking a lot about this whole thing. I'm a truck driver. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, especially as a young guy. The moments that stand out to me, the ones I really learned from, weren't the times someone yelled at me or humiliated me publicly. They were the times someone reacted with constructive kindness, where I was quietly offered a chance at redemption, where someone held up a mirror to my behavior without malice. Those were the lessons that stuck. I hope this kid comes out the other side with a new appreciation for that kind of kindness, offered quietly and without fanfare. And I hope my daughter knows her worth and never settles for less than respect. What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications.